Hello, everybody. My name is Constantine. I'm a Nim developer at IFT, which you may probably have heard of under the brand of Status. In this talk, I will tell you about the newly added MCP mode or nimlangserver, which brings Nim tooling to AI agents. Let's first start with some terms, because I'll be using a lot of those later. So it's better that I describe everything I'll be referring to right now. So let's start with the very beginning. NimSuggest. NimSuggest is a separate binary that is shipped along with Nim compiler, and that is the code insights tool for Nim. So NimSuggest, when called, would find references, type definitions, reference definitions, and stuff in your Nim project. It's really a cool thing. The next term is nimlangserver. nimlangserver is a separate project, a separate package, which is responsible for communicating with NimSuggest and providing its data to the end consumer. So to NimSuggest, nimlangserver is a client, but to the end consumer, which I call here LSP and MCP clients, nimlangserver is a server, LSP or MCP respectively. Now, what is LSP and MCP? These are two protocols that editors and AI agents use to get code insights. So LSP is a protocol for editors, and MCP is a protocol for AI agents. When your editor, for example, Vim, wants to, for example, find all references of a symbol in your file, it would serve as an LSP client. And as an LSP client, it would make a request to something called an LSP server. And when it will get the information from the LSP server, it will be able to show it in your editing window. So the same thing, pretty much similar, happens with AI agents. Your AI agent, Gemini CLI or Claude Code, is an MCP client. And as an MCP client, it makes an MCP request to an MCP server. And then when it gets the data, it can creatively process it and make decisions and make additions with your code. Let's get back for a second. So historically, nimlangserver was strictly an LSP server. So it was synonymous when we would say that, what is nimlangserver? We would say it's an LSP server for Nim. Now the things have changed, and we've added the MCP mode, so now nimlangserver can act as both an LSP and an MCP server, depending on the flag that you pass when you run it. So why was this new mode added? I will show that in detail a bit later on a very concrete example, but the general gist of it is that despite AI agents being really good with code navigation and with code refactoring and understanding code, as they are, because Nim has a thing called style insensitivity, this could be problematic for AI agents. So when you ask your AI agent to, for example, rename all references of a particular function, what it will do is run something like grep or find on your project. It will try to treat your code as plain text. And so it will use text-based tooling to navigate across your code. Now, with style insensitivity, why this is a problem is that you could have multiple different ways of calling the same function in different places. And this could be due to typos or maybe deliberate decisions, no matter why, but your grepping could bring inaccurate results. Also, Nim allows you to construct calls with metaprogramming, with templates and macros. And this is completely ungrabbable. So, because even if you can account for case changing, you can never account for a symbol being constructed during compilation. And of course, you can teach your AI agent to work with that. I mean, you can provide it with enough context and enough data and information about NIM, but essentially, you're just spending tokens on making your AI agent a very poor man's NIM compiler, and that is just economically not like irresponsible. You're spending tokens on processing the shell output and dealing with kind of partial compilation, whereas it's not the AI agent's job to do that. And we also have nimsuggest laying around, which can do all that really fast and 100% accurate. I could not find a working solution that I could apply and avoid implementing MCP mode. So here we are. The initial idea, though, was not to create an MCP mode. The idea was to add another layer on top of nimlangserver as an LSP server. So the idea was to have a wrapper that would that would be an MCP server. It would process MCP requests and then proxy them to the underlying LSP server. Now that failed because first I could not find a working solution. Like there are several solutions lying around, so this is not a new idea. I mean, people have thought about it already, but for some reason I could not find a well-maintained, a documented, mature working solution. And also, it feels kind of bad that we're constructing this, what I call a protocol centipede. As it's really strange to have MCP layer on top of LSP because at the end of the day, they both are just front ends for nimsuggest. So we really do not need to have an additional layer because we can communicate with nimsuggest directly. So here's an example of how using like MCP server can improve your AI agent communication. So here's a short NIM snippet. It's deliberately written in a way that produces 4 different calls to the same function. So we have a function print thing. Now we're calling it directly by its name. Then we're calling it with a different spelling of the name, with a different style. And finally, we're just constructing the call with a template. So these 4 are all 100% valid name calls for a proc. And here on the right, there are 2 open code instances launched on the same project and the same file, and they're both given the same instruction: find usages of print thing. So the part on the left is Claude without the MCP server. So obviously it tries to use grep, and we can see that it grabs print thing, and it finds 2 matches, which is of course wrong because we know that we have at least 4 usages and 1 definition. So it kind of missed 3 out of 4 usages. And on the right here is the same open code with the same Claude, same version, but this time it has MCP enabled. And you can see that it correctly found all 4 usages, despite the fact that they were, obfuscated, so to say. And to do that, it first called the find symbols tool, which allows the MCP server to find the definitions of certain, of a symbol. And then when it had the definition, it was able to find all the references of this symbol. And it correctly took into account all the all the style sensitivity, and it could pre-compile the project. So nimsuggest is really great at these things. There's also like a demo on Eskinema. I will not launch it now, but the link will be in the slides. So how do you use it? How do you install the MCP server? First, you have to install nimlangserver as usual, because again, MCP server is just part of nimlangserver. You do that with nimble install -g, which stands for global installation nimlangserver. If you use VS Code, you're in luck, because you just have to install the official extension or update it, and you'll have both LSP and MCP capabilities available at once. For other editors, it's a bit more laborious, but nothing special. You just copy a configuration file for your editor from the repo, and you copy the skill.md file, which tells the agent how and when to apply the MCP tools that are provided by this MCP server. Then, when you're interacting with your AI agent, you can either call the tooling directly by their names, or you can ask the agent to do things for you, and it will use this skill.md file as a reference to understand which tools need to be called. Here's a quick overview on how the nimlangserver package is structured now after the modification. So we have the two groups of consumers, LSP clients and MCP clients. As I said earlier, LSP clients are editors, VS Code, Vim, Nav, Mo, etc. And MCP clients are AI agents, Copilot, Claude, OpenCode, Gemini, etc. So both LSP clients and MCP clients are a thing called RPC clients. You don't really have to know what RPC is, but the important thing is that they're very similar. Okay, so LSP clients and MCP clients use the same protocol to communicate with LSP and MCP servers respectively. So because they're both RPC clients, we have a single RPC server to handle their requests. When a request comes to this RPC server, depending on how it was launched, it will either go the LSP way or MCP way. So the flow briefly diverges, because we have to serve different routes to different clients. But then it quickly converges back to a single type, which is called language server. And this type is responsible for the nimsuggest communication. So you can see that nimsuggest does not care or know if it's serving data to VS Code or Copilot, because it doesn't really matter. All it cares about is providing data for a language server, and a language server is then responsible for serving the data either through MCP routes or LSP routes. So this is the only part that basically changed. And that's it for me. Feel free to reach out to me on Discord or GitHub or the Nim forum, anywhere actually. Please use our new MCP mode for nimlangserver. Hopefully you will find it useful and you'll like it. If you have any issues, if you have problems, please report them on GitHub. And if you want to contribute to the code, this is very much welcome. We have a special contributing guide published on the documentation website, so please refer to that. And that's it for me. Thank you.